All right, so you don't have to clap. Just say hello. I know we're going to have some people coming in. I'm going to try to speak. Hopefully you guys can hear. I know it's really loud going on out here, but I'm going to talk a little bit. David, how are you? You covering this for muscular development? Okay, make me look good. I'm going to talk a little bit, let you guys kind of know what's going on in my life. I mean, if you guys want to ask some questions, I know sometimes I get into, my history, and if you're a Jay Cutler fan and you're sitting here, you kind of know the history of what I did. But I'd like for you guys to open up and ask questions. I know a lot of people are shy, but I was too, but I would appreciate the questions, okay? And there's no stupid questions. Not many anyway. I just got out here yesterday, once again, coming out here to support the Arnold Classic from the United States, and I was in Ohio 2 weeks ago, and I didn't get to watch the contest. Hopefully I'm going to get to go watch the show tonight and see the guys compete. It's been a little different since I stepped off the stage 3 years ago, 2.5 years ago. I'm focused more now on running my brands with the clothing and the supplements, and I promote a lot of shows now in the United States. I got 7 Jay Cutler events that carry my name. The first one of the year taking place next week in Las Vegas, the Jay Cutler Classic. So that's what I'm in and out of this show. I'm leaving on Sunday morning just because I have to get back and work on the promotions of that stuff. So it's pretty cool to be able to see now being away from the stage and helping people get up on stage and compete at all levels. We have a lot of new divisions. It's opened up a lot of new competitors to be involved with the men's physique, the classic physique, of course, the bodybuilding side, the women's bikini, all that stuff. So it's really cool to bear the name now and be able to promote on the positive side and get people to step on stage. Because to be honest, I mean, when I started lifting weights, and I picked up a magazine when I was around 12, and I saw a picture of a guy named Chris Dickerson, who's a former Mr. Olympia, and I said, wow, this is really impressive. And I remember showing my older brother, and I said, this is what I want to look like. Because listen, as a kid, I don't know you guys, I mean, I wanted to be like a superhero, I always admired those guys. So I said, I want to look like that. My older brother said, you're crazy, it's too much muscle. But I always, flipped through the magazines, and I joined the gym my 18th birthday just to look better. I was going to school for criminal justice to be a police officer. And, I never knew that, joining the gym would be a life-changing experience for me, where I was coaxed into competing about 6 months after training, and I got second in my first show, and I was pretty much, really drawn to bodybuilding and decided, wow, I really want to pursue this further, becoming a teenage national champion at 19, turning pro, like my third contest at 23, and, now as a pro, getting contracted from Joe Weider himself with Weider Supplements and Muscle and Fitness and Flex magazine, being featured on the covers. It was a dream come true, but I never imagined it would go to the level. I never sat there and said, I am going to win the Mr. Olympia, or be the best bodybuilder in the world. I remember looking at Dorian Yates, who was the Mr. Olympia then, and thinking, wow, I'll never look like this. And sooner or later, I was getting up on stages and competing with my idols like Ronnie, Coleman, Sean Ray, Kevin Ronnie, all those guys, and eventually beating all of them and becoming the Mr. Olympia. So I always tell everyone, always try to believe in yourself. Listen, don't shoot too far, but you never know where it's going to take you. And I always tell these young kids that come to the expo and meet me, wait in line hours, that you just never know when you start training where it's going to take you. So it's been a very humbling experience to get to that level. And now I continue to stand at these trade shows. I promote the shows. Like I said, I'm showing my face as much as possible to support as many people as I can to have their quest, whatever it may be. I know a lot of people don't want to get up on stage. They might just want to look fit. At 42 years old is what I'm at now, and I'm just trying to stay in great shape. I still go to the gym 5 days a week. I train half as much, and I eat half as much as I did when I was winning the Mr. Olympia competition, which was the hardest part of what I did. I hated to eat. That was the worst thing, to be 300 pounds off season, competing at 260, 270. All I did was eat. I would cook my food, eat a meal. It would take me almost an hour to eat my meal every day. So it would take me 7 hours to eat, plus I cook. By the time I washed my dishes, I was cooking the next meal. It was crazy. But that's what it took to be the absolute best. I mean, I was eating upwards, 6,000, 7,000 calories a day. Average day, I'd eat 400 grams of protein and 1,000 grams of carbohydrates. That's what it took for me to be as big as I was. So now I've downsized a lot, eating a lot less. I still try to eat about 5 meals a day, but I preach to everyone and sitting here, the food is the number one thing. You have to get on a good diet plan if you're going to go to the gym and you're going to train and you're going to see progression every day. Okay? Eating a good breakfast, a good meal before you train, good meal after. You have to get the food in. If you're not eating the meals, it's very hard to go to the gym and perform at your best. Okay? I want to ask a question. Who's sitting in this room thinks they eat enough food? Don't lie. The females? What females eat enough food? Yeah, you look like you eat enough food there. Shit, I don't want you to come up and pose with me. Looking good though. So, the average person is awake enough a day to eat 5 or 6 portions. You try to eat every 2.5 to 3 hours. Okay, who eats every 2.5 to 3 hours here? Let's be honest, okay. Good? How many people like the food that they eat? Good. Who cooks it? You cook your own food. Okay. Well, now you know the meal service has taken over a lot of what we do. We travel at these events. I remember years ago I would have trouble finding enough food to eat, but it's very nice. A lot of people reach out to me now. We have meal services that really help us. But the nutrition aspect has obviously changed a lot. I think that's why the sport also has progressed. We've learned a lot more about nutrition. There's people that put a lot more information out there, social media. I mean, when I started, I was picking up magazines in the gym. I didn't have the $5 to spend on a Flex magazine or Muscular Development or whatever. I had to, scrounge up, ripped up pages at the gym. I would take those home. I would study those. I'd read about guys that I looked up to be able to learn things. Now you can go on the internet. You can see everyday social media. I mean, I'm on Snapchat every day, put my training up there, my Instagram, my Facebook page. I mean, I have reached with so many people, and I know I have a lot of fans in Australia, and I really appreciate you guys coming out here and listening to what I have to say today. So why don't we start off, because I know you guys have questions. I know we're limited on time, but I would love to answer a few of the questions, and I need some females to participate, okay? So you like to flex your guns over there. I know you have to have a question for me, so we're going to have these guys pass around the mics, okay? Stand up. Make sure you speak into the microphone loud enough so people can hear, and I'd love to hear what you guys have to ask for me, and hopefully I can do that. All right, so we're going to start off with the guy supporting Cutler Athletics over here. Okay? Nice and loud now.
Who is your favorite competitor to go up against at the Olympia?
Ronnie Coleman. I hated Ronnie Coleman, because I feel I'd have the record if it wasn't for Ronnie Coleman right now. A lot of second places. You know how tough that can be. So, but we had some great battles. Obviously, at the end, I battled Phil Heath, who's, was my best friend. I brought Phil in, and, he's working on now going for that record. Anyone that's maybe, I know Phil does a seminar tomorrow, so you guys can maybe hear what he has to say on that. But, yeah, Ronnie was tough. At the time, we weren't close friends. We've become a lot better friends now since we retired. But I remember battling and waiting for that call every year, and Ronnie would sit there, and I could see he was a little nervous, but I know he always acted like he was super cool up there. But it was a lot of good battles. I miss those days. That's what I miss most about it, probably, is that final call with him and I. Okay. Next one.
Hi Jay, you had a great career, no doubt about that, and my question's actually related to that one. I just wanted to ask you, how did you deal with the disappointment of coming runner-up to Ronnie, time and time again?
let me reflect back a little bit, because the first time, I'll be honest with you guys, I mentioned when I thought I would become Mr. Olympia. The first time I ever realized that I could be Mr. Olympia is the first time I placed second to Ronnie Coleman in 2001, which was very close. I won prejudging by 6 points. He beat me in the finals by 2 points. I still don't understand how that happened with the scores, but that's history. But you know, I was happy to be second. I moved up from 8th the year prior. I was now second place. I went and won the Arnold Classic the next year, and I skipped the Olympia that year, but then I was second, and it was frustrating. By the time I reached 2005, which was the last year I was second before I won in 06, I was like, okay, if I don't win this thing, I got to just go back to the Arnold and focus on that, because I just felt at that point, you know, Ronnie was heading towards that record-breaking number 9. I didn't know if I could really do it, but I really knew that it was coming. His age was getting, you know, he was reaching a deeper age, and I was still young enough, and I was coming into my prime. So I knew I could actually do it. And when I came in 06, and I came in at my biggest I ever was, I think I was 273 on the Olympia stage, I knew I was going to win. And all those years of frustration, then I realized, wow, I was Mr. Olympia, because my whole life changed. I never thought I was really popular being second place. I was, you know, it was me and Ronnie were like the battle every year at the Olympia. And when I actually won, my career went up a whole nother level. My lines became longer. My fan base grew further, because I finally did what no one that was second for so consecutive times. I mean, Kevin Leveroni, Sean Ray, Nasser El-Sambadi, Rich Gaspari, all those guys were second, but they never beat the Mr. Olympia. And for the first time, I was able to conquer the Mr. Olympia. So I remember laying in bed, and for a week, I've told this story a million times, but I was, a week later, it was starting to sink in. Wow, I actually won the Mr. Olympia. And I woke my wife up, and I was like, oh my God, I won the Mr. Olympia. It still didn't sink in. It was crazy, because that's what my whole life was for that. I was 33 years old when I won. And it's amazing. I mean, just talking about it, it's incredible to win the biggest title in the world, but I was happy to do it. Okay?
How you going, Jay?
Where are we? Okay, right here.
For skinny guys like me, what's your take on nutrition and training, like sets and reps?
There's always the hard gainers. I was pretty, lean. I hate to say skinny, because I was more of a stocky build, but you have to take in enough calories. And that's why I say you've got to consistently, day in and day out, eat on a pattern that's going to allow you to continually make progress. And I don't care who it is, because listen, even as Mr. Olympia, I wasn't consistent. If you can tell me, okay, Jay, I eat every 2.5 to 3 hours every day, because remember, the day prior is what's going to fuel your next day's workout. So if you miss one day and you have 4 meals instead of your 6, that's going to hold you back. It's going to take you 3 days of process to get back to what you originally were. So you need to continually eat, and progressively, as you build more and put on more size and weight, hopefully it's quality, you're going to need more calories. Okay, so you need to eat, like I said, on that continuous pattern. You need to go in the gym. The training is very simple. It's just stimulation, okay? There's so many workout routines out there to follow. There's no listen, the basic rep range, 8 to 12 repetitions. You push, moderate to heavy weights. You should be struggling around 8 and going close to failure. But if you train with higher volume, you can't go to failure every set. Pick a couple different exercises, you go to failure. But otherwise, I was always a high volume trainer. I did up to 20 sets per body part, which is a lot. I suggest 9 to 12 for the average person. You'll see some definition, some size, and it's all about the eating that's going to continue to get that. You've got to break those plateaus. So sometimes you might have to add fat into your diet, avocados, nuts, almond butter, those kind of things in between meals. Add them to your meals. I know when I had a fast metabolism and I was trying to get lean and train for the Mr. Olympia and I was getting too lean, I would add avocado to each meal just to add some fats to slow the metabolism down a little bit. Okay, it's all about the eating, because you have to eat maybe more calories. I mean, you think you're eating, I would get up in the middle of the night and I would eat. It's crazy, but if you want it that bad, you'll chase it. Okay?
Hey, going? I just want to know, like, you've retired for a while and you're looking unreal. So how do you guys?
Okay, sorry.
You're right. As I was saying, you retired and you still look amazing. So how do you, I suppose, keep going, like, not further, but maintaining as such like an age past your prime and still looking good and you know still being an inspiration even at like this stage of your life?
I'm trying to beat Father Time. You know, like I said, I've downsized a lot, but I still get up in the mirror and I look at myself and I still say, okay, you're Jay Cutler, you have an image to maintain. But fortunately, I'll be honest, I mean, I have good genes where I was leaner when I started training and I always had muscular definition. I grew up on a family farm doing concrete work. But I really still pay attention a lot to my diet. And I think a lot of people, you know, they eat bad food. I mean, listen, once a week is okay. But I still try to, you know, get up and they eat the same breakfast. I have 20 egg whites for breakfast still right now. I have a cup of oatmeal, cup of coffee. I have 2 slices of Ezekiel bread. It's the same thing I've been doing for years. You guys sitting there saying, guy eats 20 egg whites, right? It's a lot, right? It's only 60 grams of protein. But I still have a couple whole eggs with that. But, you know, I still eat the chicken and rices and all that. And listen, I eat out every day, but I still eat out clean food. I have In-N-Out Burger. Who's seen my In-N-Out Burger videos? You guys seen that stuff, right? I still go there a couple times a week. But I still get up every morning right now. Any of you guys that follow my social, I go out and I walk for 30 or 40 minutes every morning and get into the sun of Vegas. That's a fortunate thing living in Las Vegas with no snow or anything. I get out and I walk just in the neighborhood and do some phone calls and stuff like that early in the morning, catch a little sun, work on my tan, and still try to keep in shape. So that's really my main focus now, is just trying to look more athletic and not muscular. But the diet and, you know, the training keeps it in check. I still go to the gym. Anyone who follows my Snapchat here, you guys see I still train a lot. I put the workout out on there, kicking Victor's ass on there, who's my lead guy for my products and stuff. He's been training with me, so that's what I do every day. I still live the life of a bodybuilder, but you know, I still have all my other business stuff on the side. Okay. Next question.
G'day.
Where are we?
Right.
There you go.
Leading up to competitions, did you ever lose the motivation to train? And if you did, what pushed you harder to train?
You know what? Some days I woke up and I said, just like you guys, I don't want to go to the gym. And days I did choose not to go to the gym. But most importantly, I made up for it on other days. I listen to music, watch training videos of the other guys. I knew there were a lot more hungrier guys. But to be honest, going to these kind of expos and greeting a lot of the fans and seeing that the motivation I was giving them always fueled me. Emails every day, social media, all that stuff. I mean, I used to get handwritten letters from the fans before the internet existed, and I would be such a motivation. I wasn't even big time then. I wasn't Mr. Olympia. I barely won it. I won a pro card maybe, but you know, the fans would write to me and they would use me as motivation. They tell me these stories about, you know, how I changed their lives. I mean, even here today, it's like I get people like, oh, you saved my life. You know, I read one of your articles and, you know, you really made an impact on my life. And there's no replacement for that. When I win the Mr. Olympia and you guys see all the fame and all that stuff, nothing can take the place of a fan telling me, wow, you changed my life, or, you know, someone, you don't expect that when you start training. I never like started training saying, man, I'm going to be a motivation to someone. I was a kid as a fan of all these other guys. So for me now, that's just a bonus in my career. And that's honestly what keeps me motivated a lot of the times is, you know, waking up every day and you know, knowing that I still can really, you guys, younger guys can look at me and still use me as motivation. I mean, I'm 42 years old. Yes, I had a great career, but to me, I'm like looking at these other guys now, like a Kai Green and a Phil Heath, and I'm like, man, I honestly sit in the audience. I'll sit at the show tonight and I'll be like, wow, how do these guys look like that? That's what I'll actually say, because I can't even recall how crazy I looked on stage back in the day. Because it's just so far, I've moved on so much more from that kind of training and that kind of routine that it's just amazing that these guys still can train to that level. It's impressive. It takes years and years to build that density, and I tell everyone, you're at your prime with your physique in your mid to late 30s. That's why these guys are competing into their 40s now. when I started bodybuilding, like the Lee Haney's, all these guys, they were retiring when they were 30 years old. Now these bodybuilders are pushing almost 50 years old to be able to compete. So if you ask, well, how's that possible? I mean, the business has changed a lot. I mean, there's just so much more factors that go in. The guys are making a career, the sponsorships, the social media. I mean, I'm walking around some of these expos, and some of these kids I never heard of. They're young kids, 22, 23. They're YouTube sensations. They're using their physiques and their knowledge and all their dedication and what they love to do to be able to influence a lot of people. And I think that's awesome. You know, you don't have to be a big bodybuilding name to be popular now. That's where the market has changed the most. I mean, luckily, I'm one of the iconic guys in bodybuilding, so I was able to influence that way with the competition history. But I give my hats off to a lot of the people that go out there and chase the dream by promoting themselves. And, you know, there's a place for everyone, and every one of you sitting here, you know, someone has looked at you and you've made an influence on their life, no matter what it is, whether it be in fitness or working or, you know, family members. Someone looks up to you. And you always have to, like, remember that in your mind. And whenever you get down on yourself, no matter what you do, your influence is always positive on some people. Fortunately for me, it's a lot of people, especially in the fitness market. But shoot, I go out and walk the streets every day, and there's half the people don't know who the hell Jay Cutler is. They just think I'm some guy that lifts weight.
Okay.
Yes,
Jay,
sir.
Jay, how you doing, mate?
How are you?
Good. Just got to say first, my buddy and I, we used to love your DVDs when you were training before you won your first Olympia. Really inspired by that. Just a quick two-part question. Can you speak a little bit about, I think a lot of people always like following a dream or working towards that. Can you explain how you sort of supported yourself in those lean years before you were able to, you know, financially start getting reward from sponsors and things like that? And then also to what this guy said over here, any chance of a comeback? I mean, you're still in great shape, so why the hell not, you know?
I hate that question. What do you think? Should I come back? Who's going to cook for me? Ladies. I don't know. You know, I don't think I'll come back, honestly. I'm going to answer the easy question. I live my life to the fullest at this point. I mean, I retired at 40. Anyone that follows my social knows that I'm a lot happier than I used to be. In those videos, I was very, like, just focused on training and not as much personality, you know. I always had the personality, but I just didn't like to show it as much because all I was thinking about was eating and training and being the best. I had that weight on my shoulder to be a champion. Now it's a little more relaxed. But in the beginning, it was really difficult. I grew up on a, you know, large family. Youngest of 7 kids. And my dad's today 86, my mom's 74. My dad's still very active, okay? My dad's he's about 5'4", he weighs about 130 pounds. So I always laugh and say I got my genetics from my dad, you know? But they had no understanding of what bodybuilding was. And like I said, my brother thought it was crazy when I showed him that picture. I started training at 18, joined the gym, I watched the guys train. I was going to school at the time. I was working a security job, making $5 an hour. My paycheck for 40 hours a week was $150. Now, my wife, Carrie, who was my girlfriend at the time, we started dating at 16. You know, she was pursuing a nursing degree. She was working 2 jobs. So between the two of us, we were just making enough money to pay our bills, I drove a piece of crap car. I remember running out of gas all the time to get to the gym every day because I would scrounge up change to go to the gym. And gas was 99 cents a gallon in the States then, which is really cheap. And I would put in like $2, enough to get back and forth to the gym. But, you know, between the two of us working, I mean, I had enough to be able to afford my chicken breast, and, you know, the carbs were cheap, the rice and potatoes. But I remember going and buying like eggs at this farm stand. I'd buy 30 dozen eggs at a time, and, you know, the guys would hook me up because they saw I was muscular and everything else. I was kind of like a celebrity already in the town that I was from. And I remember I would buy all my meat from a butcher. I grew up in like total countryside, so I had this butcher that would, you know, he would get my cow, and I would buy a whole cow at a time. So I would go into the butcher shop and the cow would be hanging. So I'd be like, okay, I want this into steaks, this into hamburg. And I remember I had to buy an extra freezer, and I had all these like 1 pound packets of meat, and I would take out 3 or 4 every day. Shoot, there were days I was eating 4 or 5 pounds of meat a day. So for me, I was, buying it much cheaper, and you can understand the quality was top notch. You're buying it from a butcher shop. The guy, I raised cattle. My family, my brother still has 80 cows. But I would buy it from this butcher shop, and I'd go home and I'd cook all my things outside, and I wouldn't eat out. I remember every week, Perry, who was my wife, my girlfriend at the time, we got married at 24, but we'd have one meal a week we eat out. $20 was our budget. So every Friday night we'd go out and eat our $20 meal. And slowly I started, selling 8x10 photos, and I'd have fans. I would handwrite the letters. I started selling. I had 1 T-shirt and 1 picture. Okay, so now anyone that follows what I do, I have a T-shirt business with, I don't even know how many, hundreds of T-shirts. I sell all that stuff online on my own brand stuff. So I started with one single thing, and I just hustled. I'd send stuff out. They'd have a P.O. box in the magazine. Then the internet started. I started jcutler.com and slowly started to build up a fan base. And now, I sell, hundreds of shirts a week. And that's, one of my business things I do. But it just goes to show, because everyone looks at me nowadays, if you follow what I do and you see the success of what I did, and they think, oh, Jay always had money or whatever, but I struggled just like everyone else to get there. And it was, my family really didn't give me a lot of help because they didn't understand it. But I just worked. I did security. I did golf course maintenance. I worked as a cook as a restaurant. So I do know how to cook my food, ladies. I would get food from the restaurant and be able to get better deals on it. And then slowly I got my first paycheck from bodybuilding came when Joe Weider flew me out to California and gave me sponsorship when I was 23 years old. And I started getting paid to be a bodybuilder. That slowly residualized, and I started getting more endorsement deals with all my different things, my belt lines, my wrist straps, gloves. But I wrote to a lot of companies to try to chase the dream. I said, you know what? I use your product. I would love to get a sponsorship. And you know what? Some worked out. I've been with Chic, which is I have a belt line with them. I use their wrist straps. I remember writing to the owner. The owner responded to me. I said, I'll send you stuff. I started a deal. He said, hey, write a contract. We'll do it. I've been with that company for over 20 years. And I started a belt line with them. So now they're my partner in my belt. So it's pretty cool, to start off at zero. Just because I used the product, and I reached out to them. So you got to chase what you want. That's all. Doesn't come easy always. Okay. Next question. Where are we? Okay, right here.
A lot of guys have a problem building their upper chest. What is your opinion on the best upper chest?
Best chest exercises, I always stayed with dumbbells. Hammer strength is popular now. I don't know what kind of equipment you guys have here, but I never liked a lot of barbell work because I feel it's a lot of pressure on the shoulder joints. I always tend to stick to more dumbbells. Okay, you have a lot of isolateral movement. You're always going to have one side that's bigger and always going to have one side that's stronger than the other. So I like to focus on, really creating a good arch. Listen, you can do dumbbells, incline, flat bench, decline. I really think all around any kind of bench press movement or fly movement is going to hit the overall chest. It's just going to be years and years of really just continuing to tear that muscle down, get out of the gym, feed it, and really just get the muscle to expand. Remember, I train for the volume. I always train for the pump. I don't care how much I bench press. If you ask me how much I ever did, I'd lie and say 600 pounds. I never maxed out my entire life because it wasn't safe. I wasn't trying to be a power lifter. I was a bodybuilder. So I think, doing dumbbell work and really focusing on contracting the chest rather than just pushing weights. Because listen, if you have strong triceps or strong shoulders, it's going to take over. So you really need to create a really good arch when you press and keep the chest out. Don't round the shoulders, okay? So really just try to focus on putting your mind to the muscle. It's mind to muscle connection and really seeing the muscle work as you're going through those motions. And it takes experience to get that. You're not going to get it in your first 6 months of training. You really need to just, slowly start thinking. And every day I went to the gym, the day before I had mapped out exactly what I was going to do. So I knew, if I was training chest the next day, I was going to start with inclines and go to flat, then go to some fly movement. I already knew it. So when I went in the gym, I already had a vision of, okay, I'm just going to go from this to this to this. And if someone was on the machine, and I usually send the training partner, said, hey, ask those persons if they're done or whatever, or I try to find a different movement to move to. That's all. Okay? And I wasn't equipped with the best gyms. I live in Las Vegas now because those are, I feel, the best gyms. I mean, I moved there to win the Mr. Olympia. It's a 24-hour city. I train 24 hours a day. Anyone that's watched my stuff, I train in the middle of the night, early morning, late afternoon, middle of the day. Right now, I'm training usually in the morning or the afternoon. I don't usually train as much late at night anymore. I try to avoid that because I'm tired. I have long days. And, of course, with my travel schedule right now, it's crazy.